So shout out to Chef Solomon, and I'm glad he was able to come on and be a guest yesterday on the Big Dog Chico show. Before we wrap this up, we have to talk about the schedule that was released, 2024 Buff schedule. Of course, we're starting off with North Dakota State, Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor, UCF, Kansas State, and that one we have to talk about too, as it will be played at Arrowhead, if I'm not mistaken. Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, or actually it was the Kansas game, I think, going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
at Arrowhead, and Oklahoma State. What are your thoughts on the schedule? Um, how do you see it? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think that the schedule sets up a little bit differently than the way you looked at when the schedule came out last year and most years when Colorado was in the Pac 12, in the sense that there were some pretty clear, you wouldn't call them necessarily blue bloods because USC hasn't really been USC since Pete Carroll was there. They've had some nice teams since then, but have not been on that level. You've had Oregon that's had, some pretty successful seasons, but not quite on that level. But you still saw those programs as teams that, with where Colorado was, to be honest with you, if you were going to go down your schedule with a pencil, you put an L there by some of those schools. When I look at the schedule, I see less of that. I see a lot of that they could beat that team for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a whole lot of they definitely are going to blow up on that team. Like, uh, I love Coach Prime's comments about Colorado State wishing that was the first game, because I think that ignites some in-state feelings that are good for Colorado football. Not just the Buffs, but Colorado State as well. They're going up to their stadium, and how much can Buffs fans get in that stadium? How much can they invade that place? And there's going to be a feeling in the air of that stadium that I don't think they've ever had up there at CSU. And so that's going to be fun. But yeah, no, I see a lot of winnable games on there. In Utah, to me, even if it's at home, is going to be one of the tougher ones. But you really, if you put it together, if you protect Shador Sanders, if Travis Hunter stays healthy, if you get the right hire at defense coordinator, you can have a really special season with that schedule. But you got to be locked in. You can't take a week off, because this is not a schedule where you're going to have cupcakes. There isn't one on there,
Mm-hmm.
but there also isn't one juggernaut on there is either. And so to me, that signals a really entertaining football season we're about to see. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I definitely think it's going to be entertaining. Got some bye weeks in there to get some rest just in case. Got some games off or home and away. Home and away is not just going to be away, away, away type games. Like you said, it's not huge juggernauts, not games that we're looking at and we're saying, shh, this one might be we might not, you're not already scratching it off as a loss in any way, shape, or form looking at this schedule right here. You're saying that we can, if anything, we can run it. We could find a way to run the table, dog. We could get in this playoff. It's 12 teams. We can get in this 12-team playoffs, win these games, but it's going to have to start with the first one and not looking over anyone. I don't care. You talking about what conference they come from, what whatever it is. They're a football team, and on this schedule, they can beat us. North Dakota State, Nebraska going to come with a chip on their shoulder at their house. Same thing with CSU. They're going to try to pull out all the stops. If I'm coaching Norville up there, hey, hit somebody late early, not necessarily hit, but do something early to see if we can get them out of their comfort zone, their rhythm, get them to, just make undisciplined type mistakes. I want to have a dog fight, a street fight up there if I'm Coach Norville. But if I'm Coach Prime, I'm going in there with the focused mind, my team ready to go. Hopefully, we'll be 2-0 from Nebraska and North Dakota State. We know how to win games, and this is going to propel us for the rest of the season. We know that we started off 3-0 last year, so it's a different type of focus when you've had a amount of success early on, and then you kind of lost that. Now you're going into it thinking that we're We're going to do everything we can to have that same amount of early success, but now we're going to maintain it. We're going to sustain it. We're going to find a way to continue to get better throughout the season. And I think this schedule presents that, with all of these games being challenging, but in a way to where we're not intimidated, and we know that we can win these games, and we probably should win most of these games with our quarterback, with our talent. We probably should win most of these games, and everybody's going to be watching. So, good schedule, but the main thing is get into that playoffs, get bowl eligible, and then get into the playoffs, and anything can happen. That's what I think Coach Prime is looking for.
I'll maintain, if you ran a simulation, a true simulation, not just going off like BPI that ESPN seems to endorse, but a true simulation of what Colorado put on the field last year, that's a bowl team more often than not. In fact, the vast majority of the time, I really feel that way after watching that team early in the season last year. And you wonder how much of that Stanford loss kind of derailed things, and it's hard to put a finger on that. So you look at that schedule and you look at what Colorado put into the program last offseason, what they added to it this offseason. There's still a couple pieces like BJ Green and Will Shepherd. They're going to be, top level Big 12 players this coming season, this summer. And you get really optimistic, and you just hope that the bounces, the luck, the camaraderie and all that comes along. And it's so hard. We'll spend, the next many months talking about this before they kick off, and it's just hard to predict. But when you look at a schedule, this is not one that should intimidate you.